Chapter 6 Jumping Without a Net, January 2010. It was January 2nd, 2010. Toby, my gray cat, had died yesterday, and I felt pushed to go home to my family in Pennsylvania for support. The electricity had gone out, and as a result, our heat too. Tin Man was in Fredericksburg with his friend. I packed up the car, the ugly but reliable golden station wagon Tin Man's grandmother had given us as a gift. It was spacious, but the heat didn't work. Thorbjorn was fussy after having just woken up from his nap. I put him in his winter coat and bundled him with blankets in his car seat. At least one of us would be warm during this drive. As I drove away, I looked at Allie and Nergis's house next door, and I wondered what it would be like to be in a happy marriage, because ours was anything but. I needed my strength. This was a 5-hour drive. I looked in the rearview mirror at Thorbjorn. He looked so cute bundled up. The car would lull him back to sleep eventually. I looked at the gas tank, which was half full. All right, I'll stop on the way. I turned on some music, put it on low, and hoped it would calm my nerves. My nervous system was on complete alert, ready for battle. I hadn't even told Timian I was leaving, but what other choice did I have? While on Route 95 North, I took the left exit to the rest stop. Getting out of the car to pump my gas, I felt the adrenaline rush of having escaped. I took off my right glove so I could put in the credit card, and my hand was shaking from the cold, or possibly the adrenaline rush. I didn't know, but my nervous system was on high alert. An abused woman running from her abuser. The drive felt quicker than usual, likely because there were very few cars on this road late at night, right after New Year's. When I pulled in front of my parents' house, I sighed with relief. I'd been shaken most of the drive, and I glanced a look at myself in the rearview mirror. My eyes looked wicked tired. I fumbled out of the car seat and grabbed Bjorn's diaper bag and slung it over my shoulder. He was in dreamland. I unhooked him and grabbed him in the pile of blankets and carried my baby, my love, to the front door. It was unusually locked, so I rang the doorbell. I rocked back and forth, trying to get more feeling into my legs. Mom opened the door with a stunned look on her face. I left Tin Man, I stated. She looked at me, mentally trying to process what I'd said. She stood in the doorway, and I said it again. Can we come in? She slowly moved to the side.
Destiny, you can't stay here.
She said. I barely heard what she'd said as I walked towards the living room and gracefully put Bjorn on the couch. He was still asleep, thank goodness. The gas fire was on, and I stood before it, closing my eyes to the heat. I know I was freezing, but I'd assumed my shaking was due to stress. But the blessed heat was calming.
Your lips are purple.
My mom said as she came into the room.
There's no room for you here. Alia and her kids are in one room. Anita's in the other. Your father's already sleeping in the bathroom. And Joseph and Melody are in the basement. You can't stay here.
What you talking about, Willis? I asked, perplexed. Of course I can stay here. It's my parents' house, I thought. I looked into the fire, trying to process what she'd said. Joseph was my younger sister's ex-husband. Anita was an exchange student from Albania. Alia was my dad's Iraqi interpreter who'd shown up at my parents' front door with her 2 young kids less than a year ago. I could hear my mom on the phone in the kitchen.
Christine says you can stay with her.
Are you serious? I said, anger starting to bubble up. But I didn't have the energy, so I pushed that down. Watch Bjorn, please, so I can go to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. Yikes, she was right. My lips were purple. I clearly needed to get some circulation back into my face. I'd spent the past month calling my mom and telling her everything that had been happening in our house. The constant, unnecessary yelling, the incessant disharmony over essentially nothing. Tin Man was always stressed out about law school. I'd call him to dinner after making a lovely meal from scratch, and he'd yell at me like I was interrupting his study time. I quickly started to feel like his slave. He didn't have time for me. He didn't have time for Bjorn. He didn't have time to take care of his dog. And I was there to keep it all together. That would have been fine, but he wasn't giving me anything to work with. I'd found out we were pregnant on October 1st, and the morning sickness was an affair. For 6 weeks, I could barely keep down any food, so I ended up losing weight. I was so nauseous that I kept my hair in a ponytail because the feeling of hair rubbing against my neck made me gag. Feeding the cats in the morning with the putrid smell of wet cat food was one of my greatest challenges. I was so fatigued and all my muscles felt weakened, but then it passed and my appetite returned, and so did my energy. I'd tolerated not seeing Tin Man for months, from the start of the semester until Thanksgiving break, knowing that on break we could spend time together. I'd asked him to take me on a date and to spend time with Bjorn. Instead, he'd spent his whole week in his pajamas, not showering, thus we weren't having sex, and he'd spent his freedom not with his family, but playing some revolutionary time period video game. I was disgusted. It quickly moved into the question, why am I here? And it seemed the only answer was to serve him. I was happy to take care of our home and our son, but I wasn't receiving any love or support from him, nor was Bjorn. Anytime I asked for anything, he would spin it on me, accusing me of being selfish or ungrateful. For a while, I started to go numb, but I wrote in my journal and I talked to my friends. I could feel myself sinking into a depression, being alone in Richmond. I'd built a small private music teaching business, and my adult students became my friends, so I wasn't completely alone. One afternoon, while jogging through the neighborhood pushing Bjorn in a jogging stroller, a car stopped to talk to me. Ali lived 2 doors down and explained that I should come over and meet his wife, Nargis, and their 4 children. That changed everything for me. Nargis and I hit it off, and Bjorn had some kids to play with. I saw how loving Ali and Nargis were together and how happy the home was. The opposite of our home, despite my best efforts to keep our home lovely and make fresh meals daily. My husband, unlike her husband, was awful to me. I'd written in my journal constantly to get my frustrations out. November 7th, 2009. Dear Diary, I am physically sick with emotion. Tin Man is supposed to be studying for finals right now, but he's angry. Last night, I slept on the couch with rage. Yesterday morning, I was feeling so burned out and not nurtured. I feel like I take care of everybody all the time, and no one takes care of me, and it has worn me down. The stress of everything, the pregnancy, the house, the finances, and having a husband who doesn't contribute much. Tin Man has never and is not taking care of his dog, and it is not my responsibility. Last night we fought when he said the words, "Oh, I thought you were going to make me a plate," at 11 o'clock at night. This was after feeding him 2 cooked meals, a dessert, and later a hot chocolate. Don't tell me you're fucking hungry. It's not my fucking responsibility. Fucking look in the fridge and cabinets yourself. The classic event is him sitting on the couch, relaxing, after a home cooked meal with the kitchen all cleaned up, and he tells me, I'm hungry. He just expects me to serve him, but I'm not a servant. I'm not here to clean up after him or cater to him. What kind of man goes to sleep when his wife is angry? What kind of man completely belittles anything I say? It is such bullshit. Does he understand how much time it takes to plan a meal, shop for it, execute it, and then clean up afterwards? I'm just so sick and tired of being used like I'm here to cater to him. I came in this relationship for love, not to be taken for granted and to feel unappreciated. When I told my mom what was happening, her response was,
I remember the time too when I realized I couldn't rely on your father for help.
what the hell? This is what marriage is? We'd moved to Richmond over the summer so he could start law school at the University of Richmond. My mom had come to visit over 4th of July. Tin Man was in his first year of law school. He was barely home, but when he was locked up in his study. I'd be home all day with Bjorn and plan a nice homemade meal. I'd knock on his study door and he would bark at me not to interrupt him. For a few months, I was just numb, trying to process my new reality in Richmond. Previously, we lived in Waynesboro, where both of us were working full time, had our small group of friends, Thorbjorn had Mama, and our lives were simple.